Welcome along, everyone, to a very special catch-up with one of our very special partners, Emmett Williams, the president of MyZone. Emmett, always great to see you.
Great to be here again, Chantal.
So it was only, I think, 4 weeks ago when we last caught up, although it feels like a lifetime because there has been so much happening in our world over the last, I guess, 7 weeks or so. And when we wind back the clock and look back to when all of this started, we were kind of March timing. So today we're going to fast forward a little bit. We are going to talk about what's happening with the MyZone challenge, or the MyZone MEPS challenge, I should say, during May. But before we get to all of that, let's just wind back the clock a little bit to where this all started. Talk to us a little bit about the April MEPS challenge, just in case there's anyone out there that doesn't know what that was all about. And then let's have a chat about the results of that before we move into May. So tell us a little bit about the April MEPS challenge.
Yeah, Chantal, it was around the 16th of March when America shut down. I think Australia was the week after, if I'm not mistaken. And that's when every gym just shut its doors and operators were scrambling. There was no real strategy at the time. And we realized that we needed to do something to help the operator. And with the thesis that if we could help gym members sustain their exercise routine, they would be far more likely to return to the gym when the doors opened. With that thesis in place, we asked ourselves the question, how do we do that with MyZone? And the very obvious answer to us was, let's put cash in a prize pool and let's run a challenge, because we know that prizes behind gamification work. It drives positive behavior change. So we put $10,000 in a pot and said to all the MyZone users around the world, if you earn 1,300 MEPS this month, which is in line with the CDC and the WHO as it relates to physical activity prescription, if you achieve 1,300, then you will be awarded 1 ticket into the prize draw, and then there were 10 random winners. And so that's what we did for April, and it was a huge success.
Always helps when I unmute myself.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Emmett. So let's talk a little bit more about the results of that April challenge, because I believe that you collected some data along the way. Can you share any of those results with us?
Yeah, look, the data that I can share is that out of the gate, we lost 28% of our users, right? So 28% literally got their MyZone belt and put it in the top drawer and said, I am not exercising. Now, this was the back end of March, right? This was when gyms had shut their doors, people couldn't go to work, there were layoffs and furloughs. I'm not exercising, right?
Everyone was in shock, I reckon, at that point in time.
100%. There was shock at play, and also the gym was shut. And a lot of these members were not used to working out at home, or going for a run or a bike ride or whatever it may be. So we did have a loss of users, and that was obviously concerning. However, when we looked at the data, particularly through the month of April, as we added the gamification, yes, we had a 28% drop-off for the reasons we just discussed. However, we had a 19% decrease in MEPS. And for those people on the call who are not familiar with the metric MEPS, MEPS is basically a metric for how much exercise you do based on time and intensity. So with a 28% drop in users and a 19% drop in total MEPS, it actually meant the exercises that remained increased their MEPS per month by 13%. And you look at that and think, well, why is that? And, you know, it could be because they're doing more cardio. They're not going to the gym and they're riding their bike and they're running, so they're doing more cardio. It could be because there's no commute time and they've now got more time on their hands, so they're getting more exercise in. Or it could have been selection bias, i.e., once the 28% dropped out, those remaining were more avid exercisers in the first place. But either way, it would be a blend of all of that. Either way, the MyZone users that remained participated in the global challenge. The $10,000 was a game. They all did 13% more exercise, and we considered that a real win.
Absolutely. I've got to say, I mean, I don't need a whole lot of motivation to use my zone, but having the 1300 MEP target just really made me push to get there, I think, sooner than what I normally would as a regular user. So it was something that I thoroughly enjoyed being a part of. And so that was the April challenge, and we are now recording this kind of smack bang in the middle of May. So talk to us about what May looks like, what changes you made for the May challenge off the back of the April results.
Yeah, okay. So we put money back in the prize pool. That seems to get everyone's attention. But we made a change. We said, yes, you need to earn 1,300 MEPs. But in this case of May, you also need to add 5 photos to your MyZone feed through the MyZone app. And the reason we did that was because we realized that, okay, we've got through April and people are kind of getting sick of this whole COVID thing now and being at home, and motivation will be waning. And we knew through both our primary insights and also secondary studies through behavior change that exercises that engage, exercises that give likes and receive likes, and exercises that attach photos to their workouts are highly predictive of exercises that will do or earn more MEPs, if that makes sense. So there's a strong correlation between adding a photo and doing more exercise. And so that's why we incentivize that. We wanted to keep the community aspect, the accountability aspect, and to be really simplistic about the example. If you were doing a 5K fun run and you were running through the bush or the woods or the forest and no one could see you, it may be that you were dragging your feet. But as soon as you got onto the high street and ran through the town village and you had your friends and family there and your neighbors, all of a sudden you're running with the knees up. The basic reality is that we all do more when other people are watching. And that's the essence of social accountability. That's the essence of MyZone. That's why we're trying to share the effort that users are putting into exercise. And by attaching a photo, that increases and enhances the experience, and it will encourage others to like your photo. And when you know other people are watching, guess what? Your knees are up and you're running down the high street a lot quicker than when no one was watching as you ran through the woods or the bush.
That makes so much sense. And as you're saying that, Emmett, I'm actually thinking about here in Australia, there's been so much talk around, football matches or AFL or cricket, and having an audience, the effect of having an audience watching some of those matches versus not, and a lot of the players are like, no, we don't want to have that game because we don't have the audience here. So I totally get that correlation.
Because they're prima donnas. They're prima donnas. I don't play in front of less than 50,000 people.
Exactly. But how motivating is that? And I've got to just say, you mentioned the word community in there. And for me, one of the joys that I have seen over the last couple of weeks, and I do spend a fair bit of time looking at the results of all my connections on MyZone, but the ones that post photos, I don't know, they draw your attention, they get your eye to it. You kind of engage that little bit extra because you're like, oh, well, Emmett's running on the beach, or, Dave's doing a workout out in the countryside, or whatever it might be. So there's definitely that community feel that you get when you attach a visual to the results, as you talk about.
And it's user-generated content, isn't it? And we know that user-generated content is far more engaging than a stock image on regular social media, like Facebook or Instagram. And this is no different.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So really cool element to have added during May. So I love that. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is MyZone Remote, MZ Remote. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, interestingly enough, we launched it about, I'm going to say 8 hours ago from the day of recording. But on the 14th, we launched it. We're having another, we had a wonderful feedback from the attendees. We had 800 attendees this morning on a webcast that launched this product, and we are running another webcast on Thursday the 21st. So if you follow us on social media or reach out through one of the channels, we'll invite you to it. But let me answer your question. What is it? Well, MyZone Remote is essentially a marriage between Zoom and MyZone, right? So it's putting those two products together and having babies, essentially. And so from a MyZone perspective, we're essentially taking that group display of the other exercises on the leaderboard, and we're delivering it through Zoom so that the boot camp that you might be doing at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday morning now has that in-club experience. And it gives a different experience to the user, to the trainer, and there's a real business case behind it for the operator as well.
This is unbelievably exciting, because I have to say, as a fanatic of MyZone, but also as a super user of Zoom, I think I'm using Zoom, as most of us are, several times each day. I love this marriage and I want to know more about it. So let's break each of those areas down, because you mentioned there's, you know, different benefits and different experience for users, trainers and operators. So let's start off with a user perspective. Talk us through the benefits and how they can get involved in MyZone Remote.
Yeah, okay. So if you're a member of a gym and you've got a MyZone belt, what you would do is you would book in through MZ Book, which is through the MyZone app if your club has turned it on, and it's all part of the existing license. And you would book a class. Let's call it 9 a.m. on Wednesday, body weight boot camp, right? You would book it in and schedule the class. 5 minutes before the class, you would receive a push notification saying, right, let's go, it's game time. And you would click that, or if you miss the push notification, you would go to the app and you would check into the class. As you check into the class, because of the integration, an interface will come up on your phone where one half would be the instructor. Let's say it's you, Chantal, and you'd be on the screen addressing the group. And the other half of the screen would either be your own MyZone tile or the group set of MyZone tiles from your community. And what we're doing in a large group environment, we're turning the video off. So we're having just the instructor, and all the participants don't have their video on, right? Because let's face it, in a large group environment, you can't really see what's going on. In a small group environment, like 1, 2, 4, that's okay. You can turn the video on and you can have that two-way feedback. But in a boot camp with 30, 40 people, the video goes off. You've got your instructor on one side and you've got the MyZone tiles on the other side. And then as a user, what you do is you flick it up to your TV through Apple TV or through a connection
Smart
dongle
TV,
or however, Chromecast.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and you've got that experience each side of the screen. And the benefit to you, the member, really, it comes down to two things. One, the coach can now keep you accountable. So if you're doing those mountain climbers, the coach can be, okay, Chantal, let's go make sure we get up into the green zone. Or if we're doing high knees, okay, I want everyone in the yellow zone. We're doing high knees until the whole group is in yellow. Okay, guys, now let's go through recovery. I want to see us all get back to the blue zone. And you're getting that feat. You can't be in the lounge room pretending to be doing mountain climbers because you've sat under the video and no one really knows, and there's no accountability like there is in the gym. So there's the accountability side of it. Then there is the community side of it as well, that I'm working out, and I can see all those familiar names up on the board, because guess what? I normally do boot camp with them at the club, and I've missed them for 8 weeks now. It's great to see them back on the screen and trying to get some semblance of a normal experience.
That is a massive game changer for those at-home exercises that just, as you say, miss their community. And I have to say, will probably be a bit of a challenge, as you mentioned, because maybe people have been kind of, you know, taking their mountain climbers a little bit easy and thinking, oh, it doesn't matter, nobody can see me or monitor what I'm doing. So I love that accountability factor and the connection factor to others that are taking part in the session, but also to the trainer. So let's talk a little bit about the trainer now, because that's a third of kind of the key people involved in this. So from a trainer perspective, talk me through the benefits and the view from their perspective.
Yes, so again, back to a large group scenario, the trainer is prescribing the move, and a whole bunch of best practices have bubbled up over the last 8 weeks. When you demonstrate a move, you face the camera and then you turn one side and you turn the other side, I mean, that's a big job running a class like that and being onto it. How can you possibly provide corrective feedback to 35 or 40 people from a technique perspective? Really hard to do. But from an effort perspective, you can essentially sit there and say, right, I'm going to demonstrate the exercise, but then I'm going to hold you accountable through data. And now I've got a relevant data point to share and attach your name to it and give you the experience that we spoke about before, that 5K fun run when you're running down through the high street and coaches there saying, come on, let's go, Emmett, knees up, finish the race. That's when you pay attention. And so that's what we're trying to recreate.
That is absolutely awesome. So we've had a look from the user perspective and the trainer perspective. What about for the operators? What's the benefit of this for MZ Remote for them? Yeah,
look, this whole virtual fitness, digital fitness space can be broken down into many different types and models. There is the on-demand at any time. There is live, there is feedback, there is no feedback. The thing about digital content is that it's almost becoming a commodity, right? You could go to YouTube and you can watch, I go to YouTube for my TRX moves. I don't need to download the TRX app because I go to YouTube and 5,000 people have given me new ideas on how to use TRX. So it is becoming a bit of a commodity and it is being given away for free. So as a business operator, you have to ask yourself the question, what can I do that is different, that matters, that differentiates me from the competitors and differentiates me from the free content that I give through my app or through my YouTube page or whatever it may be, in an effort to add value. And if I can do that, then I can charge for these type of classes. I can beat out the gym down the road. I can beat out Chris Hemsworth that is charging $19 or $39 a month. I downloaded that when he first came out, and I forgot that I had the debit going out to cancel him last week. And I think to get his body that I actually have to follow the exercises. I downloaded it to.
That's part of the rule.
Yeah, that's right, and follow his diet as well. But either way, that's a $39 app, and I live in the States. That was $39 US. It's wow. And so, how do you differentiate against all of this in order to win the customer and keep them engaged? And going way back to what I said at the very top, and that is the thesis that if we can sustain the members' exercise routine during COVID, they will be more likely to come back after COVID. That's where the ball game's at. And MZ Remote speaks to that now, but it also speaks to the new world after COVID, which will be a scenario where physical fitness, brick and mortar fitness, will now be converged with digital fitness, and these brands will be expected to offer the whole gamut and to engage me not only at 6 a.m. At the club itself, but also at 6 p.m. the night after when I just didn't have time to get a workout in, but I do have 30 minutes to get something in. And wouldn't it be wonderful if that class on a Wednesday night that I'm normally part of, that if that's going live, I can also dial into MZ Remote and can experience that class live, but can be at home. A great substitute.
Yeah, absolutely, Emmett. And as you were talking through that, you mentioned going back to the very beginning of keeping people in that regular process, in that routine, so that when our brick and mortar doors do reopen, they are ready to come back. Those of them that are ready to come back. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I've got to say, in a number of the conversations and panels that I've recorded over the last couple of months, that theme of routine has been really consistent. I've had people like Dr. Paul Bedford talk about the fact that it is so important that as much as possible, we keep our members in some type of a regular routine, maybe doing the same classes that you're used to or doing their PT sessions at the same time as they're used to. I see MZ Remote as that connection tool, as that way that they can continue that routine. And as you say, be ready for when doors open or whatever that new world looks like. So I think it's super important. So congratulations to you guys on getting that up and running and that little marriage between Zoom and MyZone. What a phenomenal combination that is. So let's just talk quickly to finish off about the logistics side of this, because we're going to have some operators that are watching that already have MyZone in their clubs, and this is going to be quite an easy transition for them. But I'm sure there are users out there in the world that wouldn't necessarily have their belts right now. So from a logistical point of view, how do people jump on board, start using MZ Remote? How do we get our belts out to users that maybe don't have them? Talk to us about that side of things.
Yeah, okay. So we're not charging extra for the feature, but it is a value add to existing licenses. So the club do need to have the MyZone license. From a logistics perspective, it comes down to them having a Zoom account, whether it's a free one or a pro account. And what they would do is they would set up their recurring meeting in Zoom. They would then get the Zoom link and bring that over to the MyZone backend, where they would copy and paste it into the class itself. So that would create the integration. And we've got all the support material around this. We've got the SOPs, and we've got support webinars and how-tos to really hold the hand of the operator, given that this is a new product. And then at that point, it's just about promoting it. What I would say is, if you're a multi-club operator, let's say you've got 100 clubs or 1,000 clubs, you could have the one instructor run the one class, but you could have multiple MZ remote experiences. So if I'm part of the club in Laguna Beach, that's great. I sign in and the other participants on the screen are from Laguna Beach. But if there are another 999 clubs and there's one in New York, well, guess what? They will be following the same instructor, but the people on the screen will be the same people from that particular facility.
That club. That is very cool. So you're seeing your friends, you're seeing your community, your network is local to you.
Yep. Yes, that's right. That's right. And so if you do have MyZone, you will need to get the MZ book feature switched on. It doesn't come automatically switched on. But without getting into the weeds, Chantal, you just reach out to your account manager. We switch it on. We enable MZ Remote. We give you the SOP. We have all the webinars for you to come along and follow, and it's a fairly straightforward process.
That is awesome. So as we record this, it's the 15th of May. We're going to be releasing this in the next kind of 48 hours. And I know that you mentioned earlier that there is another webinar coming up on the 21st of May. So people can get involved and jump on if they want to hear more information.
Absolutely. They can go to any of our social platforms and ask the question. We'll invite you along. Or just email support@myzone.org and the team will shoot you the invite link.
Absolutely brilliant. I love this new feature, MZ Remote. Emmett, thank you so much for catching up with me today. Thank you for keeping me motivated throughout COVID-19. It's definitely been great having those 1,300 MEPs to strive for each month and keep me accountable with my exercise. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are getting involved too. So it's been awesome catching up. Any final messages for our viewers today?
No, other than we are coming up with ideas for the month of June. So expect very soon another challenge for the month of June. We're kind of getting hooked on these challenges at the moment.
Good. Love it. That's absolutely awesome. So thank you so much for catching up with me, and maybe I'll see you next month for another update.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thanks, Chantal.
Thanks, Emmett.